ATN, which is the Association of Licensed Telecommunications Companies of Nigeria. We saw MTN Nigeria put out a notice to the stock exchange, I think it was yesterday or the day before, notifying the stock exchange that they had received this directive from the NCC, and that the NCC is saying essentially that customers who do not have, who have not submitted their NIN, that's your national identity number, to the telcos in order to harmonize those NINs with SIM cards, that they be cut off from communications by February the 28th. They also said that if you have, if they've submitted an NIN and it is yet to be verified, and it has more than 5 lines linked to it, and they are yet to be verified, that they be cut off by March the 29th, I think. And then if you have less than 5 lines linked to an NIN that has not been verified, I think you'll be cut off by April the 24th or something. So essentially, it's a new year coming up. They've resurfaced this NIN harmonization exercise, and they are putting the telcos on notice that they need to get those links going.
Are you concerned that the original deadline for this NIN SIM linkage was supposed to be December 31st in 2021, and security reasons were listed, and it's 2 years later, and there's still people using phones without having these NINs linked to confirm their identity?
Yeah, so I think it even started it was 2020 when they first started this harmonization exercise. So the thing is, it's concerning, but they keep giving leeway to the telcos to allow them to harmonize them. And the thing is, it's up to the customer. So you've got or the subscriber rather, you've got to come in, I guess, physically to a telecommunications operator, at least the one that provides you with your telco service, and essentially submit all the necessary identification, because you have to do biometrics. So it's a long process. I mean, there was a time, I remember how I got mine. I was just lucky. I was at the office, and I was going downstairs to go and have breakfast, I think, and then one of the telcos had come. They had started dispatching people to different offices. They had an exercise. So I knew the guy. They said, "Oh, Rotus, hi, look, we're linking NINs and SIMs." So they just did mine there on the spot. They had the camera, took pictures, did everything for me, you know. And so it costs money to do that. It costs money to send out your workers to different offices, to different, to different areas to get it done. And not everyone has complied. So yeah, for security purposes, it is indeed concerning. And that's the reason why they're trying to get this ball rolling again.
You touched a bit on the significance of this, but would like you to expatiate more in terms of the purpose of the SIM card and NIN harmonization exercise and when it started. Yeah,
so it goes beyond security. I mean, it's also financial inclusion. If your line is barred, you can't transfer money. If you are not part of the system, you obviously cannot communicate. So it's part of being the fabric of society and part of being part of the communications chain. And also, I mean, look, everybody needs to be harmonized so that you know who is who, right? So I guess security is number one, but then, I mean, if security is not number one, then it's number two, right behind financial inclusion. So that is the whole purpose of just having this web stitched together with the identities of everybody that is using a mobile phone, so that you just know who is who.
All right, let us know what your thoughts are. 0809 444 0981. That's the WhatsApp number. We're streaming live on YouTube, so you can catch the live stream and post a comment, Smooth981, or just tweet or X at Smooth981. I've got a message from Benga Cameron. He says, Rotus, are you concerned that the government is not doing anything to combat rising prices, or is it not within the purview of the Finance Ministry and the CBN? And he also says, what are the benefits of the BVN and the NIN to us as Nigerians? But the so-called benefits to make us more secure is not yielding much. And I argue that the strong and mighty in Nigeria don't bother with NINs and BVNs, but still have access to their finances.
Well, I wouldn't. Great message, great questions from Benga. I'll start with the last one first. I wouldn't know whether the high and mighty. I would assume that if you are that's referring to high net worth individuals, politically connected, wealthy CEOs, and trust fund babies and so on and so forth. I would assume that with the level of wealth that they have and the need to make transfers and to keep abreast of their finances and the contacts they have, I would assume that they would need to be connected. And I guess for them, since they are high and mighty and they are the wealthier parts of society, they will go to their homes or their offices. They won't bother them to come and start standing in line at their local telco to try and get. They would simply make a phone call and say, come to my office and get it done. So I would assume that they will be the first people who will be taken care of. That's just how society works. As far as prices, look, Mamas asked about the chicken and everything. You've got to, at this point, I mean, Christmas is on Monday. I'm not sure what they can do again. Inflation already came out. It's still heading upwards. We're not the only ones facing this. Egypt's president, El-Sisi, was just, he won election. It was confirmed yesterday. He won a third term. He's going to be in office now until 2030. One of the biggest challenges he's facing is inflation and high cost of living in Egypt. And they're also facing another currency devaluation. So in America, Joe Biden is behind Donald Trump in the polls because Americans are angry about inflation. They are angry about the fact that cost of living is high. In the UK, Rishi Sunak has a crucial election next year as well. And he's behind in the polls to Mr. Sturner of the Labour Party. The Tories are behind. Why? Because energy prices are high. Cost of living is high in the UK as well. So wherever you turn, whether it is Argentina, where Javier Milei has just been sworn in, or December 10th, he came into office, he's wants to cut government spending down by 15 to 20%. He wants to dollarize Argentina because the Argentine peso has gone to the dogs, into the gutter. Cost of living, we think Japa is heavy in Nigeria. Japa is heavy in Argentina. The youth have been leaving the country in droves. Again, cost of living is really high so whether it's Egypt, whether it's Argentina, whether it's the UK, whether it's America, whether it's Nigeria, it's same cost of living challenges. We're all facing them.
That takes us make a U-turn once again at this point to get back to the NIN. So the directive in April 2022 that certain calls would not be allowed. What are the details? And so the next one to stitch up to that would be, why haven't we harmonized all the NIN and the SIM card all this while?
Yeah, so the NCC, I think as of April of last year, said if you had submitted a NIN and it was yet to be verified, you were barred from making outgoing calls. And I think I remember they were talking to a couple of people who I didn't hear from, and they told me that they couldn't make calls from their line. They had to get another line or go. I was like, you're just causing problems for yourself. This other line you're going to, they're going to cut it off as well once they find out. One of the reasons why they haven't completed is that there were lots of people, just a lot, large population. Tele density has increased. That is the number of people with phones per certain square meters or whatever in a certain area. And it's just really, really hard. And the telcos, they make money off of all these people, right? All these people that have phones that are buying data, that are buying airtime, and so on. So for them, it's annoying to have them cut off because now you're losing money from people who would have been paying for these things. So it's in their best interest to get this done as soon as possible. But it's a long, very manual process. If there was a digital way to just get this done where you could just take your smartphone, take a picture of yourself, send it over, use the NIN and link it, that would work. But then somebody on the other side has to verify it. So it's a long process.
Now, you touched briefly on what the telcos stand to lose, but again, in terms of this deadline, February, March, April roll around, it's just not so far away. It's a spitting distance away.
Yeah, so I think that's another issue. They're saying they should have been given more time. But you remember when Zibby asked the question, we've been doing this since 2020 or 2021. You could have gotten this done. Well, look, it's not easy. I've seen the lines, I've seen people get frustrated because something didn't go through a particular it's a really, really tasking, mind-numbingly annoying process, and it's very laborious. You can imagine what it's like sitting there looking after ID, going through a system, typing it in manually. Ugh, it's ugly. So, but hey, they got to get it done because, from a security perspective, if somebody is kidnapped, if they make a call for a ransom, if you are scammed, every single phone number in Nigeria should be linked. I should be able to go to the security people. If I have a court order and I suspect something is wrong, you should be able to trace everybody in this country. All this talk of ransoms and kidnapping shouldn't be happening if they're using a mobile phone to make a connection.
Now, finally, just close this up for us before we get to the messages now. This would now point in one direction. It's leading towards identity management in Nigeria. How well have we managed this so far?
So the NCC is saying that that NIMC, which is the NIMC, the Nigeria Identity Management, I can't remember if it's council or commission. I think it's commission. But yeah. So they are supposed to work with the telcos in order to get this done. But look, Omas, we talk about this when we talk about voting. You got passports, you got student IDs, you got driver's licenses, you got NIN, you got BVN, you've got so many. But I think the government wants to focus on NIN and make the NIN like Nigeria's own social security number. You got your voter's card, your PVC. There's just so many. We got to harmonize it all to reduce the headaches.
All right, let's go on to some messages coming through. Yinka says, I don't understand why I should be concerned with the high and mighty being dealt with by the NIN or the BVN. However, has the BVN and the NIN met its targets? I think so. So let them disconnect everyone without updated verifications, and let's stop making the high price thing a Nigerian thing alone. Last night, someone called my wife asking how we are coping in Nigeria. When are we jackpaying? I went ballistic on her. How about you mind your business? Taya said, if there's something we know about the government, they will postpone it before the March-April deadline.
The goalposts keep shifting every time.
Indeed, it does. But they need to get this done. We're a lot of people, so there you go.
Rotus, that's about the size of the show this morning. Thank you once again. And may the pounds, the naira, and the yen converge nicely for us before Christmas.
Amen to that, Omas. Thank you so much. Thank